all the while. Later in life, Jonas would say nothing could hold a candle to those first bites of a peach. It was a delight, a treat, the like of which he would never experience again, not even when he dined at Bagatelle in Oslo, in those days the first and only restaurant in Norway to be awarded 2 stars in the Michelin Guide. As the juice and the flesh glided over his tongue and down his throat, Jonas felt a glow emanating from the very cortex of his brain, along with the taste in his mouth, which gave him an inkling of continents, spheres of which he knew nothing. Jonas slept soundly that night and wasn't really feeling at all guilty when he came down to breakfast. Veronica and their grandfather was already sitting in the blue kitchen, staring as if in mutual sorrow at the empty silver platter. Jonas knew right away that his cousin had told their grandfather a tale in which all the blame rested with him, Jonas alone, all alone. No matter what he said, he would not be believed. So he said nothing. I have to say he is severely beaten by his grandfather after this. He is punished terrible, but he never regretted it. I think it's worth every bit.
That's great. Yeah, it seemed like that. One thing that was interesting about that passage to me was the idea of something like a peach being so exotic and such a rare thing. So I guess my first question is, do you, growing up in Norway, did you feel isolated from the rest of the world, pre-internet, before it was so easy to sort of get around?
What do you mean by isolated, like in mentally, or
sorry?
Do you mean mentally, or in practice that you don't travel so much?
Well, I think both. For a quote, I had a weird book about that.
I think my parents, for example, they never traveled. So for them, going to Copenhagen, it was like going to the continent, because Copenhagen was on the European continent. So until I was 19 years old, I've never been to other countries than Sweden and Denmark. So, but the last 30, 40 years, the world has changed so dramatically in a revolutionary way when it comes to both travel and information, that I think today Norway is like in the middle of the world all the time.
The quote I was thinking of was a description of Jonas.
Not so much the band thing, but I used to play in a band and we tried to do that because it wasn't enough to get this over the years.
So what I was thinking is a description of Jonas in the book, and you write, he was a Norwegian and as such born to be a spectator. And that made me think of I guess the idea of feeling, like you're in a sort of remote part.
Yeah, I think that's more, it's more like we have always been in paradise. We have never been involved, we have never been touched. The only time we got our little finger into the world history, that was Second World War II, when 10,000 Norwegians get killed, mostly seamen, sailors. The sailing from the United States over the Atlantic. And my grandfather, he was a sailor. He was a steward about one of the state Finnish lines in Norway. So I heard a lot about that. But after that, it has gone slowly upwards. We found the oil, and we have gotten richer and richer. And still, I think we are spectators. We are in the world, but we never get our hands dirty in a way. So we are spoiled. I think that is the point. And Jonas, at the point, he says that Norway in their flag should have the stressless chair. You know that? The stressless chair is a famous product. You can really...
It was invented by Norwegian, right?
Yeah, it's a flagship for our furniture. So just like the Indians, they have the spinning wheel at the center of their flag. Maybe the Norwegians should have the stressless chair, because we just watch. We never
one of the great things about the book is that Jonas, the protagonist, is a famous TV producer. His most famous series is a series of biographies about famous Norwegians. And the whole book is just packed with, for me, most facts were very unfamiliar. Just odd stories about, Norwegians throughout history. It was kind of a great, overstuffed, encyclopedic sort of tour for me, the Norwegian history. One of the programs he does is about the famous explorer Roald Amundsen. And I was telling Jan earlier, I was in Greenland last year for an assignment and did some reading on early Arctic explorers, and many of them were Norwegians. Nansen was a favorite of one of the scientists I was with, and he did really crazy. Is he the one who basically froze his ship in a block of ice and then let it float up towards the North Pole? And he also, I think, set up some sort of ski type thing with a sail and tried to sort of sail across the ice. It's a lot of stuff you can use for Norwegian. And for me it was an important experience that suddenly I moved to Zimbabwe in Africa. I stayed there for some years, or reasons. I'm not going to mention, but to stay there 10,000 kilometers from home, it got me to have this distance suddenly to my history, and also to my country, and also to my own life. So suddenly I could see some things in both history and also the modern Norwegian tribe, so to call, some stories which I didn't discover when I was sitting smack in the center of it. So then I got the idea that if this hero is a television creator, I can make him, he can, for example, do a documentary series, 20-something programs, and he can pick interesting Norwegian people. And I have one criterion, and it is that when you mention the name of this Norwegian woman or man, a listener living in Brazil or United States or Nigeria or Japan, they know it's a word in the international vocabulary. So if I, for example, say Edvard Munch, I bet that some of you have heard that it's something